Hi, everyone. It's Michelle here at the Language Lounge. And today I am so excited to have Glenda De Hoyos with me. She is a wonderful friend and elementary world language teacher that I have had the pleasure of getting to know through NEL, the National Network of Early Language Learning, which I am involved in. And I am so excited to talk to her today about something very joyful. I feel like this is something that is going to be exciting. It's great for the last days of school if you're still in school, and if not, just all the time. And that is music. So thanks, Glenda, for joining me here today.
Thank you, Michelle, for inviting me. I'm really excited and honored to be here with you. And I am hoping that this podcast is helpful for everybody that hears it.
You know, I think it is. So one of the things before we hop in, and I think this has always been my problem when I taught middle school. Yeah, I loved in concept. I loved the idea of bringing in music, but I didn't always know what to do with it, right? Like, I'm like, I don't want to just play a song randomly. I just didn't really have I didn't have intentional uses of it. So I'm really excited. I think this is going to be really helpful. This is based on a very successful ACTFL presentation that you did a couple of years ago, right?
Yes, I think it was ACTFL, the one before everything changed.
Pre-COVID.
The one in Washington, D.C.
Right. Okay, perfect. In your home area. That's awesome.
Yes,
well, let's go ahead. And why don't you just tell me, first of all, when I touched base with you, we could have talked about lots of things, right? And you wanted to talk about music. Why is this important to you? Why is this topic important to you, both personally and just with your students?
So thank you for the question. I think that, first of all, I am not a professional musician or music teacher. And I want to say that I have the most big respect for everybody that is involved in the music industry, and especially for music teachers, because I think they are very important. So I'm grateful they do that, so we can use the resources that they are doing and that they are sharing their talents. In my case, I think that music is something, as you said, very personal. I think that I am from Puerto Rico, and I think that most of us Puerto Rican has a very direct relationship with music, and in very diverse ways. In my case, I think that, as I always say, it is part of who I am, and it's part of my family too. There's nothing that we're going to do if there is no music in my family. But also I feel a very deep connection to music thanks to my grandfather. He was what we call in Spanish a musician de oído. So he could play anything without really studying music. However, he challenged himself to learn it after. So he was,
That's
he
great.
learned to play our national instrument, that is the cuatro puertorriqueño. And then he said, no, now I'm going to go and learn to read it, which was really difficult because once you play, you have to go, and he tried to make many of us go to learn the cuatro in an institute in Old San Juan. I took like 3 classes and then decided that was really hard for me. But I think that his passion and the part that he tried all of us grandkids to go and learn the instrument, and especially the music of Puerto Rico, like the danza and many of the traditional music, was something that we all grandkids, when we get together, talk, and I really appreciate. So whenever I'm doing something with music, I know he's really proud of me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but also when I share this passion that I have, I really come alive with music. And I have to be honest, not all music, but there are some that I like more than others. My message to teachers everywhere is that there is always something that brings you joy, and it might be music, but it might be something else. And the important thing is for you to bring it to the classroom. If it is gardening, or if it's reading, or books, or movies, or traveling, whatever it is, I feel that is very powerful when you get something that brings you joy, and the kid can feel that through you bringing it to the classroom. First, because they can learn that there might be something out there that might bring this joy to them.
Mm-hmm.
And second, because I don't know if this happens to you, but sometimes I see, for example, my neighbor, she loves gardening. I'm not there yet. But when I see her and she talks to me about the plants and the trees, and I end up sometimes with her there, like,
Right.
because it really sparked that joy. So
That's
I
awesome.
think that that is something very important when you bring whatever sparked joy to you to the classroom. You are bringing something very powerful to your students, and they will enjoy the ride with you, even
I
if
love
it's not
that.
the same for them.
I love that. That's fantastic. And you're right that whatever that is authentic. That's an authentic piece of you that you're bringing as a teacher to those students, and they can see that, right? And they can feel that. So I love that. So what are some ways that you bring this joy of music to your students?
So when I started brainstorming to share, because sometimes I don't know if this happened to other teacher, but you're doing things naturally, and then when you have to share with someone, you're like, wait, but how do I use it?
Right.
So I came up with what I call the greatest hits of the magic of music in the early language classroom. I always share first that there are some general things that I always recommend. And I don't know if it's okay if I share them
Of
first.
course.
So, for example, I think that whoever is listening has to take into consideration age appropriate songs and videos. That is very important. And I always say that it has been a surprise sometimes that I use them one year and then the other year they change or there's something else. So I always recommend that we watch them or listen to tracks and be very mindful of which ones are the ones that you're going to bring to your classroom. Another thing that I always keep in mind and want people to know is that these activities and when you bring music to your classroom should be something that is safe for everybody. Not all our students are going to enjoy it like I do or like some of my students do, and it is okay. I don't want them to feel that they have to do something they don't want to. So I am very mindful of that. And also, I make it a very safe. So if my students want to sing or dance or make mistakes or be playful with the activity is something that I am aware. Also, another interesting thing that I talk with a lot of teachers is that every group, every year, and even within the same level, can be very different. And so this is not something that is written and this is what I'm going to use.
Right.
And that's it. It's something that is a continuous work. Like, for example, now they are in love with maybe a song that I'm using for something, but tomorrow they don't want to hear it. Or maybe one second grade, like this year, it's in love with a brain break that we use. The other second grade couldn't care less. Like, I cannot even bring that song there. And then, as a teacher is a lot of work because you have to be, doing a lot of research and remembering. And, but that's the way it is. Another thing that is very, very important when we're using music is be very mindful of the volume because we have students with sensory needs. And I am always looking if there is a student that it's not enjoying or if it's too loud or if I need to, make him
too fast or too anything.
fast.
Yeah, that can be too much. Yeah.
And that is also another thing that might be different from group to group. Another group can say louder, louder. And then you're like, yeah, let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. One thing that I use for all of the forms that I use the music is that I integrate hand movements for them. And they are connecting that to the word, and they are connecting that to the movement. And also you can use instruments or props or different things that are going to make it even more meaningful for the students. I usually emphasize the words or phrases that I am really looking forward to make students learn. And the most important part is that you make it fun and exciting and joyful for them. That's like the general things that I think that are important to take into consideration.
All very good, I think. And I know that you're coming at this through a early language elementary school lens, but I was a former middle school teacher, and the same things I think apply. And there are still the same things for high school as well, right? You have to make sure, like, I don't know, some things are sort of universal in that respect. When I was in teaching middle school, some of them like are at that age, they're kind of nostalgic and they kind of like children's songs again. But then there's a certain period where, oh my gosh, never, like they would just stand there and it is really like, you're like a comedian. You have to read the room, right? Yes. And I also love how you pointed out, like, being elementary, you have these kids in first grade and second grade, perhaps, or multiple levels, and it's still different, even though they're the same kids. They're in different contexts and situations, and they grow up, and developmentally they're in a different place. And I think that's just that's true of all of those, even adults, right? I mean, we've all been in different circumstances where something lands really well, and then in other times it totally falls flat, right? So
like one song that you keep listening, and there is one day that you're like, oh, I cannot hear it anymore.
Exactly, for sure. I love it. So what are some ways that you use particular circumstances you use songs in then?
So one of the things that right now, and I am really excited because next year is going to change. I've been 7 years going from classroom to classroom, but next year I am going to have my own classroom.
Oh my goodness, don't say that too loud, right? Knock on wood.
Nobody heard this. Nobody heard this.
I love it.
That made me be very mindful of the transitions, because sometimes for the kids to be in the same classroom and change from what they were doing to me coming into the classroom was a transition that not all of them could manage in the best way. So one of the most important things that I think I use every time is music for classroom routines and transitions, what I call smooth transitions. Not always so smooth, but we are
ideally.
Ideally. And I call it from this to that in a flash. At least that's the goal. And one of the things that I think it works really well is, like, when I come into the classroom, I always prepare this beginning of the classroom. It can be like a good morning song or a hola or whatever. And it kind of make them shift the gear, and I even do like, oh, Espanol. And they start, if they are a little rowdy or talking, that helps a lot. And I think even if you are in your own classroom, when they come, making a beginning, it's great. And also, for me, it's wonderful because I have a big playlist, and I'm going to share all of this with whoever is listening.
We'll put it in the show notes. That's fantastic.
Yes. I'm sorry, it's only for Spanish, but I hope somebody can do this list for other languages and share, because it's very powerful. But I have different songs for good morning, good afternoon, and little by little, I start changing them. And by the end, they learn to say buenos dias. They learn to say hola, ¿cómo estás? Different ways of answering and all of that. But also, I use songs for cleaning up, and that it's a great strategy to pace them. Like, okay, you're challenging them. I'm going to play the cleanup song, and you have the 1 minute, 30 second that it takes to, pace them. And it's, and also I think for lining up or any transition, having a song that can also have the language that we want the students to learn, it's a great way for those smooth transitions. So that's one of the
I love that idea too of it being an auditory timer almost, right? If they know the song and they can tell when it's wrapping up, they can pace themselves, self-regulate a little bit. I think that's a great plan again for, I know I did a lot of Kagan activities, and it would be kind of like I'd be flashing the lights or I'd be trying to get attention, but something like that might be a great way to kind of bring people back in, after a certain length of time. So I love that tip. That's
Now with
great.
technology also, for example, I use Google Slides for all my classes. It helps me get organized. So for example, I can insert a video of the cleaning up song and have images that will be put away the crayons, put away, so they know all the
Yes.
things in a visual way, and then they have the song. You can also use some songs that even have a timer, and that can be,
Yeah.
very helpful.
Love it.
Yes, to that. And the second one, I call it Eureka or aha moment.
Oh, nice.
And I think it's the one that we need to use the most, and is music to promote the understanding of the vocabulary and memorization. So when you find those songs that have catchy phrases or the words you need, or they repeat and repeat and repeat.
That chorus that gets stuck in your head and that just you can't help but to know those words, right?
Yes. So it's repetitive and it's easy to learn and it's catchy. And even the teachers are telling you, oh, Miss Glenda, I cannot get that song that you played today out of my mind. You are like, okay, that's the one I need to say because that one is working.
Yes.
And I think that I was telling recently when I talk about this that I have the song The Vaca Lola, and we were doing the farm animals with kindergarten. So they are all really enthusiastic about the Vaca Lola, and all of them know the vaca. And one of the things that is important, and I emphasize when we are doing this type of music for helping students get vocabulary or structures that we want them to learn, is that you are getting the song as a hook, and then you're modeling as you are using it in your classroom in different scenarios. And then it is very important that for some students, you're modeling that you're giving them a powerful tool that they can use to remember something in the future.
Yeah, that's great.
Some students immediately know. Like some students, you are like, ¿cuál es este animal? Which one is this animal? And they are like, la vaca, vaca. Like they immediately know. For some other students, it's important you model. So sometimes I'm like, like doing it so they see, oh, if I am not with Miss Glenda or I don't have this song, I can try to remember the tune of the song, and I'm going to get this vocabulary word that I'm looking for. And by modeling, you are helping them. And then, of course, it's a balance between using the song as a hook, modeling, showing how to use it, and then trying to get them out of that so they don't need it forever, And then, of course, you can add music and props and puppets and all of that will, complete the whole experience of using the music for them to learn the vocabulary and all of that. I always say that, I am an English learner. And when I was little, I learned pollitos, chicken, gallina, hen, lápiz, y pluma, pen. I always tell this story. And then I told my kids that at the beginning, I needed to sing the whole song if I wanted to remember what pen was.
Right.
Otherwise, I was not able. Right. Thankfully, now I can talk about a pen without singing the song.
I love it.
But I have to confess that I still need to sing the whole alphabet if I need some of those letters.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that is.
But yes, that's the second. And the third is that music is one of the most authentic tools that we can use in a classroom. So even if it is for a transition, and even if it is for any of the other things that that we use it in the classroom. If we are finding songs that are authentic, we are bringing to our classroom the language. And in the case of Spanish, I try to bring it from different parts so they have different accents and different vocabulary and different experience that are representing a culture. So I think that it supports proficiency. It promotes a cultural competence that we want. And it's easy. Sometimes you just have to use a video, and
it's got video, it's got clues in there, it's got visuals in there. It's something you can pull up really quick. I love that. Yeah, that's true. You don't have to get lost on Pinterest forever often to find a good song, right?
No. Sometimes, well, I have to say, sometimes it's not easy to find it. That's why I always, when I find this really good, either song or videos with songs, I save them.
Yeah.
And it's like a goal for a class, you know.
That's great.
Like I teach about in second grade about Colombia, and some of Carlos Vives' videos that you are seeing Colombia, you're listening the rhythm. Yeah. It's like so powerful, and it's beautiful too, and it's authentic.
I love that.
So yeah.
That's fantastic. Awesome. So we've got dual purposes.
Should I go to number 4?
Absolutely. I was going to say, So we've got like classroom routines and management. We've got using, for proficiency, essentially building those scaffolding for proficiency, and intercultural competence. I mean, you've got more. That's great. There's more.
Yes, I have a couple more.
Okay.
And this one is my favorite. And I said at the beginning, I'm really mindful that I know not all of my students like it, but dance it out is another way, because you can use the music for energizers and brain breaks. It's like a no-brainer. You even have some Zumba for Kids videos that if you find the right song, you just have a brain break and they sing, and it's in the target language, and we all have fun. Or at one point, you don't want to hear the song anymore, but they keep asking. And then you're like, oh, my God, why did I use this song?
I regret it.
Yes. I cannot hear it anymore. And I call them music geyser breaks.
I love that.
Because I think that they are short, they are low prep. They are incorporating movement. They switch the mental activity that you're having. It, of course, restores the focus of the students, brings energy. One of the things that I have in mind is that not all my students want to stand up and dance. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I've been doing is if it is like a Zumba for kids, or if it is something that we're going to dance, I add some either Giphies or some other thing for students to see that they need to stand up and stretch. And they are at least receiving that movement that I want, because not all want to stand up, and I don't make them. But I know that when I plan that in a class is because it's time for us to move or to stretch or to take a deep breath. So yes, I give that opportunity now. And then I find that, for example, in Google Slide, I can still put the video that we're going to do. And then maybe I can put a little Giphy or a little other video where someone is stretching, and then the student that doesn't want to dance have that other option for them to get what I want, that it's a break.
I love that, because you're right. Like, it might be fun for some students, but for some students, for whatever reason, it might not be fun, right? I was probably one of those students. I hate to say that, but that as a teacher, and you're doing the language cognitively, that is a lot of processing that those students are doing, and they do need a break, right? And they do need to stretch and get that oxygen going so that they can come back and participate. So I love that idea of just giving an equal opportunity for them to have the goals that you had, but a different way for them to do that. And they're still getting the joy of the music. They're still hearing that, whether or not they're dancing or not. And I think that,
I have a little pad that does.
I love it.
It's moving from side to side.
And honestly, you just need to send me your PowerPoint, because I sit here at work in front of my computer and I have a little thing that says get up and move, and it yells at me, and I I just usually don't. So maybe I need
You
to
have to
like
move,
do some sort of dancing, chair dancing at least. I
Yeah,
love it.
definitely.
It sounds
Yes.
very fun. Fantastic. All right.
I have a whole playlist, and then, as I said in the beginning, sometimes you test it. This one is a hit. This one is not. Like you have to the whole year be, trying to manage your
Yeah.
resources. Like if one is working, I use it for a couple of weeks, then I wait to bring another one, and so I think. That I love it, and I dance with them and we jump and, like, so yes. But at the same time that I use music to get them energized, I am really aware that also music is very powerful to make them calm down.
Mm.
So my fifth one is called Calm It, and it's music for soothing, for concentration and focus and mindfulness.
Awesome.
So, I have a playlist with songs that sometimes, if they are doing work, if they are working among themselves, but I want them to talk in a low
Mm-hmm.
voice. Sometimes I even have a Google slide that it's called Toolkit, and I have a couple of things that I might need at any time. And one of the things that I have there is a video with soft, focus music, because sometimes, I don't know, maybe they came from recess
Yeah.
fighting or they are not in the best time, and it does work. Like, let's take a minute. We're going to breathe in, breathe out. We're going to stretch in silence. Sometimes they are coloring instead of doing any other thing because that's what we need.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I even color with
I was
them.
gonna say,
Some
do you
days that
pull
are
it out for you
stressful.
sometimes? I know there's sometimes,
Yes,
right? You're
yes.
like, I
They're
need
like,
to,
we are
because when
all,
you're, I mean, those that I have not taught early language or elementary, but I supervised and I went along with teachers to every single class. And oh my goodness, I do not know that secondary teachers understand what it is like to run from first grade to fifth grade to kindergarten to second grade to, and this constant, sort of thing. And I'm sure you probably could use some breathing moments sometimes, right? To get in control as well.
yes, sometimes when those classes are back to back, that's why always having that beginning
Yeah.
song,
Gives you some
it's
time,
also
right?
helpful for me
Yeah.
because I put it and then I can take a breath, drink water. I can, I don't know, get the papers that I'm going to need or something.
Yeah.
But also having these other parts, sometimes my brain break is not for us to get energy, it's for us to come
Yeah.
down. For us, maybe if my activity is going to be everybody standing and moving and jumping because that's the activity, then I am mindfully that the brain break that they need, it's actually a mind music mess,
Yeah.
for them to calm down. So, and after the last couple of years, we know that we all have good days and bad days, and our students are like that
Mm-hmm.
too. So I've been creating kind of a toolkit where sometimes you need to scratch what you were planning for a class and say, well, this is a great time for us to just do this. And that gives you a little time to maybe go talk with a student that needs, maybe to say something,
Yeah.
or some others that need a break. And, as much as I love music and I would be, jumping all the time, I know this is very important too. So I have it in my toolkit now, and I know that it benefits us all as a community. Sometimes, there was one time that I said, "Well, now we're going to color." I think it was an animal that we were learning about, and I put the stuff music, and a girl came, and I feel like I am in an aquarium, and it feels so
Oh,
good.
that's
And I'm
awesome.
like, oh,
That's
I never
great.
thought about that, but it's
Yeah,
true.
that is great. I love that.
Yeah.
What I love about all of this is just that idea that I think I always thought of music in one way, right? I'm going to use it, and I will be honest, mostly for me, it was to introduce, like a hook for vocabulary, or like you said, like the language structures, and it had a cultural component. but I don't know that most secondary people necessarily think about it as a way to kind of manage the energy and the flow in your classroom. And I think that's really valuable. I mean, for, like I said, for all kind of levels of teachers, I think just to be mindful that, like you said, you can pull out that song or that, that activity that you need when you need it in response to the people that are in the room with you. Not, some things you, like you said, some things you can plan ahead of time, goes great, doesn't go well, but some things you just need to have like in that in your back pocket, right? That you can, pull out and use. And I really love that idea of it for
Yeah,
so many
and
purposes.
yes, one of the things that, I try, not always I'm successful, but for example, I've been trying to create a playlist for myself to instrumental music also from the country that I'm teaching.
Sure.
So for example, sometimes in second grade, if they are going to work in something, I found some from the Andes.
Yeah.
And then, for example, in first grade that I teach Puerto Rico, I have some, not always, sometimes it's just that focus music that you find in YouTube and I put it there. But you can also find beautiful instrumental music that is authentic to some of the countries that we're teaching.
Yeah.
And it is, the same energy, but also you're bringing something like I found instrumental cuatro music that I have, and sometimes that's the one that they are working with while we are working.
I have a CD. I know that ages me terribly. But I have a CD of like flamenco guitar, like acoustic guitar I find that does kind of just, I need to get that back out. I could probably find it on YouTube now. I probably don't need to try and find a boombox. I don't even know. Right? We're not going to go there. But I forgot that was something I often listened to kind of give me that focus, right? Yeah. And I think, a lot of these things teachers might use or think about, but it's so like you forget about them. They roll out of your playlist, so to speak, right? They, how you have a favorite used for a while, then it kind of goes away and it's time to bring it back in, right?
Yeah, now that you say that, I thought this, the greatest hit 6 is something that it might be great now for many teachers. And I am reminding myself that is music for review and spiraling. One of the things that it's great, especially at this time of the year, is that you can put a song that they heard the first semester to learn about the weather, and it's all coming back, and you can now start using many of the things that you work very hard on and just recycle it, use it again, bring it. And also it's going to bring a different perspective to the student, because it's like, oh, now this is reminding me of that I learned, and it's all coming back. So I call it blast from the past.
Oh, that's great.
Because in this case, you take the music, you put it, and then it makes all of that target language and all of that come back. And it can be a warm up at the beginning. It can be a wrap up at the end. It can be, an activity in the middle of your class, or it can be now that we are ending the school year and we cannot have the brain to do anything else.
Right.
Just take those songs that they love that you use to teach different things and to use them. It's very, the other day I play the weather one from Rocalingua that they like, and they were like, wow, like
they remember it still, they know it. Yeah. It's like, that's awesome.
Yes.
I love that.
And then, believe it or not, one of the things that it's the 7 for me is lens. I call it lens. It's no music. And then I am very mindful, as I have said a couple of times, that you have to use your resources very intentional. So if I use music all the time for everything, it's going to lose their own power. So sometimes no music is the music that you need to have for it to be very powerful when you use it. So, I don't want to give the message that, oh, Glenda is just
singing songs and doing dances all day, every day.
All the time. So probably all of the different ideas that I'm sharing, if I use it in the beginning, maybe that day I'm not using it as a brain break, or, like you are, again, checking with the group if they need it or not, and making choices depending in the day and what are you teaching. But it's not that all of these ideas I'm using it all the time with all my groups. Is that you sometimes know music and then you start listening like, when are you gonna play that so
and then song?
Right? And you're like, oh, not yet. Oh, maybe next class. And then that brings the excitement that they are telling you that they want this or that. And then maybe sometimes I don't use a song for a long time to bring it back and then see the excitement. And they are like, oh, I love that song, so yes, no music is my 7 and almost last. Almost last. I have one last one.
And I will say the opposite can happen as well. Like where you walk in and they're like, oh, not this one again, right? If you overuse it.
Yes. And that
especially happens. And I think, again, maybe, well, I won't say, I'll just say in my experience, I tend to do that because I had a specific like purpose. Like I want to drill this X, Y, or Z into their head. And so I'm going to like do it too much. And then you have the opposite effect, right? It takes away the joy. It's going to take away that sort of thing. So I think that's really, really insightful that, there can be, you have to be strategic with it. And it is a tool that you use.
Yeah. And I've heard that like, oh, no, again. And then I know this is the last time I'm using it. I'm saving it. I'm finding another one because sometimes we think, like I know there are certain that are the perfect catchy song, the one that you want to keep using. But once they start getting the vocabulary, you can add some others for them to use the target language or the hook that you want or the sentence structure in different ways. So that's why one of the things that I've been doing, and it's a lot of work, is that I have now all of those songs in playlist. And that way, I keep adding, and that variety also helps because you can play it the first class and the second, then the third, you don't play it because you have another one. And then you play it again. And then that makes you try to avoid this one again.
Well, and
sometimes it's hard because a kid wants to hear it again and you're like, again. And then the other one is like, no.
Right, of course. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about of that is I remember I went into a teacher's classroom and it happened to be like multiple days in a row. And she was playing the same song, but all the kids knew it. Like they knew the words, they knew it. And I kind of asked her, like, why are you still playing it? Right? Is there anything more that they're getting out of it? Or is it for, or do you have another purpose? There could be other purposes besides I will just say it was the Baby Shark one in Spanish. And if I hear that song one more time, I can't even imagine. Right. But again, like it does use it does use up its usefulness at some point. And you need to give that vocabulary, that structure in a different format so that it kind of, shakes it back up and is in a different context. Otherwise they're just kind of mindlessly repeating it. And it's not really, they're not getting as much out of it maybe anymore.
Yeah. That's why when I said I use it for learning the skill that you're trying, it is very important that you're taking that skill. You're going to see it in a visual that I did. And you are taking it away from the song in different scenarios so they can actually use it beyond the song. So now that you say the Baby Shark, we are actually in. I try to plan as much as I can with what the homeroom teachers of the primary school are doing. And when they told me they were going to do ocean animals, I'm like, here we go.
There's no way you can get away.
Because of course they are going to learn.
So now we're gonna have secondary teachers like all over, like Googling Baby Shark song if you haven't heard it already. If you don't have a child and haven't been in elementary, you may not know this phenomenon. I find it hard to believe, but It is
Yeah. Well, it was
incredibly,
even in Ellen, but
incredibly catchy, whether you like it or not.
yeah.
And it does
And
have
it
a
is in
yeah, and it
Spanish.
is in Spanish, and it's in Chinese too. It's in French, and it does
Yes.
have like good content in there. I mean, it does have the vocabulary words with the family and etc. But yeah, Baby Shark.
Well, but let me tell you that as I was planning for this class, of course, I've been listening to the Tiburón
Yes.
Bebé, because in Spanish it's
Yeah.
Tiburón Bebé, and
And
they all know
I just in my
Tiburón
head went
Bebé.
do do do.
So what I do also is that, for example, I did puppets of the
Yeah, yeah.
tiburones so they can talk to each other. And believe it or not, maybe this is a breaking news for someone listening, but I just found last week that there is more family included. So I found this.
Yes,
did you know that?
yes, they have a second like
This
one.
video that has, in addition to the
Abuelo,
mom and the dad
abuela.
and all of that, they have the aunt and the uncle and the
Yes.
sobrinos. So, and then there are other with colors. But, like I think that, for example, my first graders might not want it, but the 3 years old preschoolers are all over the place. And they learn to say tiburón. And today, it was really interesting because some of them, we were actually today doing Tu Animal Favorito. And then some of them were like, shark. I'm like, en español. Tiburón. And sometimes some of them needed what I said. So I started like, and they are like, tiburón. I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
tiburón.
that's fantastic. I love it. I love it. That's great. And I think you have one more bonus one, right? What's that?
Yes. And that one, I'm glad you said about the flamenco, because that's something that I think that we all teachers should have for us. I think that probably all of us love music, different types or different genres. And there might be something that lights you up, that brings you joy, and there might be something that, when you hear it, you come down or you feel peace or something. And our profession has always been very stressful with a lot of things, and now even more than ever. So I think that having that playlist for you that fires you up is very important. And as you said, sometimes we forget that there is certain things that really make us happy. I don't know, like maybe a scented candle, or maybe taking a walk outside. And I read somewhere, and I'm sorry, I don't remember where, but those things you need to have like them
close, right?
visual,
yeah.
Because when you are stressed or when you are low of energy, you need to know, oh, I have this playlist that has this limbo song of Daddy Yankee, and and you can do it for yourself. I think that we should all have a fire me up playlist. We should all have a calm me down playlist, or I have hope in the world playlist, that you hear it. And
yes, like, it's okay.
Everything's better.
That's nice. I like that. I think we can all probably use that one right now, right? Oh my gosh. I have a...
Yes, I don't know. I my dad is from Spain, and sometimes I have some songs like Joan Manuel Serrat, and some songs that I hear it and it transport me like, like, oh my God. And it gives me like a joy that I cannot explain. Some others make me like want to dance or remind me a concert that I had a lot of fun. And I think those things, sometimes we forget that they is a very easy resource that might help us make through a day.
I love that. I have a Wane song that I play when I'm 2 minutes out of any 5K that I'm trying to finish, because it like brings me home. It's like gets me from that last, now not running quickly. Don't go crazy, but it's what gets me to that end, right? I'm like, it fires me up, right? And I think that's great. I really love that. So, that's a great bit of advice. And I probably need to do that a little bit more as well, because music.
Yeah, music, or like I said, whatever other thing, I don't know. Yesterday I went to buy French fries and barbecue sauce because
That was what you
whatever you need. that was the day yesterday. So whatever it is you
Yes.
need, you sometimes need to give it
And
to
sometimes
yourself,
like gardening and music, right? We can just combine them. We can stack music on other things that we like because it is, yeah. Oh,
Cleaning,
yeah.
that's
Get
a
you through.
must. In my family, Olga Tañón and the mob, it's like
I
one
love
thing.
it.
You cannot clean and not have Olga Tañón playing. If you don't know Olga Tañón, we should put it
Okay,
in
we
the
will.
notes
So let's
because
do that.
everybody.
Send me that and we will since we mentioned it. I love that. So I'm going to tell you before we end, I'm going to tell you my appreciation for early language teachers, first of all, and it has to do with music. So this is my because I think it's important to also showcase your failures. And this was a big, epic failure on my part. So I was in the district office and I was working with elementary school teachers. And it was 1 week into school and a teacher had an emergency. And so I had to go to the school and, take over her kindergarten class. First of all, after the fact, I think I put on Facebook something to the extent of kindergartners are like the most evil little children I've ever met in my life. I am never going to be an elementary school class, kindergarten teacher, especially the first week of school. It was a disaster. They were underneath the tables. They were crying. Now, mind you, of course, what happens when this situation is going on? Of course, the assistant principal is going to be walking in, of course, because that's what happens, right? Whenever these horrifying moments in our life are actually happening, we have to have a witness to them so that you're truly humbled. And so they're crying, they're crawling under the tables. They're like, I don't even know where they all were. And the only way that I could put them all together and get them some semblance of something. And by the way, it's 50 minutes, 50-minute class, 50 with kindergartners. And they're like babies. They don't even know what school is at this point. The teacher just dropped them at this classroom and just because I mostly this was my failure, but there were other circumstances. There was not a pencil, pen, piece of paper, crayon, marker. I couldn't even draw a picture on the board, or there was nothing. Okay. So
picturing
this is what I had in my toolbox. This is it. There wasn't a computer. I couldn't pull up a YouTube video. I had head, shoulders, knees, and toes in Spanish. That's it. That's all I had in my tool case. And we did it for about 25 minutes. Every time I would try and do something else and I was trying to do something. And they would go crazy and I'd be like, okay, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. We would go back to head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And they were like, yay. And they loved it. But we did that for a very, very long period of time. And I will say when I share, like I said, I think it's good to share our failures, because what I did is I went back to my teachers and I said, okay, first of all, I appreciate you so much more, than I did before, even though I always thought you were awesome. Now I really think you're awesome. And what should have I done? Just putting, they had a chance to first of all, they had a chance to laugh at me and laugh with me. And it made it good. Exactly. I was just at a conference and one of the keynotes said, failure just makes a really good story. Right. And that's what I told them the story. They appreciate it. But then they were able to help me this is one thing you could have done, or you could have done that. And it opened up a conversation. But I will say, I will never sing head, shoulders, knees, and toes again in Spanish under any circumstances. I feel like it was a hostage. It was a crazy situation. So anyways.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you're saying about the failures, because it's important also for me to say this, all of the things that I'm sharing my work, for some teachers and for others don't. And I don't want anybody to think that they always do, that's why sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And that's why I think that one of the key strategies for teaching early language is flexibility. I've learned that I have a plan, and that plan can change a little bit. It can change a lot, and it can completely change. And you have to be very flexible, and there's always things that cannot change. So you needed to be there for the 50
right,
minutes,
exactly. Right. I was in that room for sure. I couldn't leave. But I could have handled things a little bit better.
But yes. But I think that some of the things when used and adapted to your own needs and to your own students might be very successful. That's why little by little, if you teach Spanish, you're going to have some of the resources that I've compiled. But if you teach another language, I suggest you start, getting those playlists, because maybe some songs this year don't work, but you might be surprised that it might be the favorite one next year, or the other way around.
And the other thing about failures is I did learn, because from that point on, I always had a bag in my car that had manipulatives, it had stuffed animals, it had paper, it had crayons, I had puppets. Like, I was never, ever going to be in that position ever again, right?
Michelle is coming with a speaker. And
I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'll go grab my books, but
no, but you're saying, and it's good. I'm glad you're saying it, because one of the things that I've learned, and this year I've done, is because I move from class to class, I never know what I'm going to need. So I have literally a bag, and then I have things there that I'm not planning to use, but I always carry them, like puppets, a coloring paper. Maybe that day this is going to save us, a game like a dice, bean bags, things that no matter what happened, you can bring them, because also we count with technology. Sometimes, I don't know, the internet doesn't work or something. So you might need some other things. So yes, definitely, I think that having a toolbox with a lot of things that you can just start making.
Expand your toolbox beyond head, shoulders, knees, and toes. That's number one advice for today, right? Awesome. Well, this has been just lovely. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. So I used to do this, and then I kind of dropped out of the habit. And I used to ask everybody, all the guests, like, who would you want to sit and have coffee with? But what musician would you like to sit and have coffee with? Because I'll bet you that would be a fun question to hear.
Well, that is an interesting question, because I've always wanted to sing. If you ask me what was one superpower, I wanted to sing, and I didn't say it at the beginning, but one of the problems I have is that I sing very badly. So my sons, I have a 20 and a 16 years old son. They are always telling me, "Don't sing, mama, no cantes." And they don't know that actually I sing for work. Like that's what I do every day. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, but this is something that you're going to laugh. Like this year, the music teacher started teaching all my students Feliz Navidad. So that is a catchy song that students cannot get out of their head. So they were driving me crazy with the Feliz Navidad. So I said, well, I'm going to take advantage of this. And although it was not something I was going to do, let's learn who is the singer that is from Puerto Rico. And, a little bit about Jose Feliciano. And then I did this visual with Jose Feliciano and a flag of Puerto Rico. And I am like, what do you think that Jose Feliciano and Miss Glenda has in common? And believe it or not, one kid, the first one, raised their hand and said, "You're both singers!" And I'm like, yes!
Oh, that makes me so happy, right? So
I told my sons, and they couldn't believe it. But you see, my kids love me. Anyways, going back to the singer, as I said, I love Olga Tañón. I don't know if, I would love to do, not meet and sit and talk, but my dream is that one day I can have a big party with all my family and friends.
I love it.
And she is the singer
awesome.
there. Like we can dance merengue and salsa and all night singing and dancing, and then I can sing with her, although I don't sing.
You can't miss that opportunity, though. Okay, so we're going to tag her in this, and maybe she'll hear this, right? And someday your dream can come true.
But Juan Manuel Serrat would be the one that I would like to talk.
Awesome.
Really have a conversation.
I love it. That's great. Thank you so much, Glenda, for sharing so many tips and great ideas that language teachers can pull out, especially this time of year. So some teachers are still teaching. Some are out. Florida, we're out now. But when this airs, most people should be on their last days of the school year, hopefully. But again, make your own personal teacher playlist, right? I like the idea of several of them because I think that is important. Like I need to concentrate one, and I need some energy one, and I need like you said, I think a hopeful, happy one just to kind of make me feel good. Sounds good too. So.
And another one that I have is the I need to be happy in my commute and very long traffic one. So do
man.
that.
I'll tell you, this is totally not related, but the best thing about working at home is not having commuting traffic, right? I would need very calming music.
So that's one you don't
calming
need.
music. Traffic makes me crazy. So, but maybe a playlist would have helped me. So awesome. Thank you again, Glenda. And
Thank
until
you so
next
much,
time.
Michelle.